Hey guys, this is going to be a really quick tutorial on transform each in Illustrator. So here's the keyboard shortcut, Command Option Shift D. And I know that's one of the more intense shortcuts you can find in Illustrator, but I think it's worth memorizing because this can be a huge time saver. So before I pull that up, I'm just going to show, or I'm going to explain what transform each is. So if I select all these objects and I want to make them bigger, then I scale them up, but then they move with the scale. They keep their position in proportion to, the amount they were scaled. What transform each does is it takes this object and it scales it up in its place, takes this object and it scales it up in its place, and this object and this object. So if you have 200 objects that you want to scale in their own position, that would be pretty time consuming. So I will select these. If you are not a memorizer of keyboard shortcuts, go to Object, Transform, Transform Each. And so now you can see I can type in a percentage for horizontal and vertical. So I'll do 200%. I'm going to do 0 for move and 0 for angle. And then if I hit preview, you'll see what's going on. So it scales each object by its own center point. And I can change the point that it scales from. So center point I can set to top left. And again, it's by individual object. So you can see how that drastically changes the positions of these different size objects. So I'll set it back to center. And then I'm going to show, so just these options. Basically you can say only transform the objects, maintain pattern size, maintain stroke weight, and all that. So that's the difference of scaling the pattern or not. Scaling the strokes or not, you can see they're maintaining their proportion when that's checked. This, they're maintaining their original value. And scale corners, you can see I had this pill shape. If I scale it up without scale corners checked, then I lose that pill shape. It turns into a rounded rectangle. And then reflect X and Y will mirror the objects in their own position. And what I really like about this tool is random. I think it's really cool. You can make your artwork really organic. So basically how it works, when you have random checked, these numbers turn into the upper limits. So I'm saying scale each object up to 200%, but it's going to scale each object a different amount. And I'll turn on move also, and you can kind of get a better idea of what's going on. So if I uncheck preview and click it again, it'll give me a new random value. So I can just start clicking until I get what I want. So you can see the variation that's being added, kind of jumping around. So I'll say, yes, that is exactly what I wanted. I'm going to actually undo that and show you a real world application for this. So I'm going to do a 3x3 circle. I already have the values in there. I am going to set that to blue so you can see it better. And then I want to move it, we'll say 15 points. So I just set my keyboard increment to 15. I'm going to hold Option and just hit the arrow a bunch of times and select those and hit the arrow down a bunch of times. So now what I can do is transform each of these dots. I don't want to move them that much. I want to move them like maybe 1.5 points at most, and scale. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit to 160%. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. So now I have a little bit of randomness. I am going to just add a roughen effect, because like I said, this is to create a little more organic vibes. All right, so I'll go smooth. And a little bit of detail. Let's see how that looks. That's pretty good. I like that. So now I can expand that roughen effect. And now I'll drop it into a pattern swatch. Pull that up. It's not repeating right, so I need to, my pattern panel is off the screen, so you can't see that. So just resize that so it's close. I'm not going to worry about making it perfect. And now I can create this backdrop for an illustration. Rotate the pattern 45 degrees. And so now I have, I've seen a pattern similar to this being used in a lot of illustrations. And this is a really quick, easy way to get those vibes. You don't have maybe the amount of control over the specifics, but you can get this really quick vibe by using that transform each. And one last thing, just to further explain, transform each is each object or group that you have selected. So if you have a whole group selected, like I'll group these two objects, now you can notice how they behave differently. I'll turn random off. So now this pill shape and this circle are scaling as if they were one object, but independent of the other objects selected. So it'll work with multiple objects and groups mixed in. One issue I run into every once in a while, I would say I'm an obsessive grouper. So say I group these, I want to scale the objects inside this group, but if I go transform each, it's going to do the entire group. So my quick workaround is usually to take an object, make a copy and just get it out of the way. And then I'll select the whole group and deselect that one object, or you can just drag select the objects you want. Now you don't have the whole group selected, so transform each will work on individual objects. So just kind of a little hacky workaround. But that's it. If you have any questions, or if I didn't explain something properly, or if you have a trick that I don't know about, I would love to hear about it. So leave it in the comments or find us on Instagram. We are at Level Labs. And that's it. Thanks for watching, you guys.